Hi, now we are going to say about task and function. Task and functions are declared within the module. The task may only used in procedural block. We can't use this task in data flow modeling for assign. You should use inside the procedural block, inside always or initial block. Function are used as operands in the expression. A function may be used in either procedural block or continuous assignment. In data flow modeling, we can use this function. The function name is going to act as an output argument or operand. A task, this is one example for task. Task may have 0 or more argument and they may be input, output and in-out. The task, it's a keyword, task name, you can give any name, then end task you should write. Within that, you should declare the inputs and output. In-out also possible in task. Then you need to write the actual functionality of the task. If you have more number of lines, you should use begin and end. Here, the input and output and in-out argument you can mention in the sensitivity in the port list, like task name. Within this bracket, you can also mention and you can also declare. While mentioning, you can also declare which are all the inputs and which are all the outputs. This is the one example task. Then function. In contrast to task, no time or delay control are allowed in the function. That is one of the main difference between task and function. Function, there is no time and delay controls. Function arguments are also restricted to inputs only. Only you can able to pass the inputs for a function. At least one input we should pass. Then output, in-out arguments are not allowed in the function. The output of the function is indicated by an assignment to the function name. Function name itself is going to act as a output argument. Okay, we can assign the value for the name of the function. Okay. So in this example, function name and end function. So here the function name is going to act as the output argument. So based on the requirement, you can declare this one number of bits the function output. Actually, how it is going to give as output. The input only possible is you can pass the input to the function. So here address and relocation function, these two are inputs. Within begin end, the actual functionality you are going to implement. So relocate equal to address plus relocation factor right shift by 12 times. So based on the address and relocation factor, it will calculate this and it will assign to relocate. And each time when we call this function, this count value get incremented. So now this function I need to call, okay, in somewhere in the code means here in the behavior, in the data flow modeling, your assign, you can call like this, assign. The absolute address is nothing but the output of that module. So assign output equal to the function name. Relocate. Here two inputs we need to pass. So within this bracket, we need to pass the relocation factor, comma RF. Okay. So first one is RF is nothing but it will be assigned for relocation factor. Then relative address will be assigned for this address. Difference between task and function. The first point is task can call another task and function, but function unable to call task, but it can call function. The reason is a task can contain delay, event and timing control statements, but function does not contain any delay, event and timing control statements. That's why we can't, the function cannot able to call another task within that, okay, because it containing delays related things, but function it does not have the delay related things. Third point is task can perform operation in both zero simulation time and non-zero simulation time. In non-zero simulation time means if you use some delay or control, timing control inside the task, it will take some time. So it will run in both zero simulation time and non-zero simulation time. But function, it will always perform a operation, it will operate in zero simulation time because we are not using any delay related things inside the function. Then allowed to use zero or more arguments, which can be a type of output, input or input. These are possible in the task. You can pass input argument, output argument and input argument. But in the function, we already saw that there is no output argument or input argument. We have to pass at least one input to the function. Here the function name itself is going to act as an output argument. The last point is for a task cannot return a value. So return keyword, using the return we can't give the value or give the output in the task, but can pass multiple values via output and in-out statement. But in the function it can only return a single value and does not have the output or in-out statements. Using return keyword we can able to pass the actual output. Okay. Or else we can assign that to a function name and we can give the output. So we'll see example for task and function. First is for task. In this example, A, B are the input arguments, OP also as a giving as an input argument. So based on the OP operation received logic, if it is 0, we are going to perform AND operation between A and B. That output is stored in C. If it is 1, OP is 1, we are going to perform OR operation. So that is the logic. So this AND and OR, we are written inside the task. We are calling the task here. Here in the test bench, we are instantiating the DUT task example here, and we are mapping the ports, and we declare the input as rich, then output as wire. Within this procedural block, we assign the value for A, B, and OP. Then using $monitor, we are going to display each time when the input varies. Now, here when in this procedural block, when A, B, or OP value varies, it will enter into this, and using the case statement, we are checking the OP. This operation. If it is 0, I am calling this do and task. Do and task is written here. Task name, input is A, comma B, output is C. So C equal to A and B. So automatically, when the OP is 0, this task will be called. We are passing A, B values. That value we are sending from here, and design receives that A and B values. And here it will calculate A and B, and this the result value is assigned for C. So from C, test bench receives the actual output value. Here I wrote the task in two different ways. So this is one way, and you can also write in this way. Okay, for do or task do or, here you can also declare and you can mention the variables input A, input B, output C. Instead of declaring here, you can also declare here. So this is the way you need to write the task and you need to call the task. Now we will see how to write the function and how to call the function. This example, same example, but the operation we are doing using function. Here do and is the function name and then arguments input. You should pass only inputs in the function, and using return keyword you can send the actual result A and B. Here we don't have output. So using return, it will receive the value, and this is assigned to C. C is nothing but output in this model. Reach output reach C. For that, we are assigned the value. This is the another way. Here the function name, for function name do or is the function name. For that, we are assigning the output of the operation A or B. The value will be assigned for function name do or. So here you will get the output value that will be assigned to C. So there is the difference between task and function. Here this function you can also use data flow modeling, assign C equal to do or A comma B. Likewise data flow modeling also you can use this function. Here the function value that will assign to the output, but here we have the output argument. To that output argument directly output will be assigned for C output. Here we are passing the inputs and output will be passed to the actual output C. But here we are giving the input through the function name or through return keyword. It will return that output will be assigned for actual output C. Here all are single bit, so I just use do and do or. If in case it's a 3-bit or 4-bit A or 4-bit B we use, so it will return 4-bit. So you should declare the function name also 4-bit. For example, here I am using function name as output, so you should declare this as 3:0. In case A and B are 3 bits. So here also you should use 3:0, and here also you should use 3:0, and here also you should use 3:0. Then conversion function. So these are the system functions already available one. Using this system function we can convert one type of data to another type of data. One format to another format we can convert, like integer real bits to support. So first one is $R to I. That means to convert the real value to the integer value. So real value you should pass here. It will convert that real value into an integer value. Then $I to R. It will convert this real int value. It is nothing but the integer value. This integer value will be converted into real value, real data type. $real to bits. So in this bracket you should pass the real value. It will be converted into 64-bit data type. Then $bit to real. To pass bits value, that will be converted into real values. So this will be helpful because real data type, it is not a synthesizable. So some process if you want to do with real data type, so you can convert that as an integer when you can perform the operation. Then again using this this functions, system functions, you can convert the real into integer into real again. An example here we have two models. One is model driver, another one is model receiver. Here model driver, the real data type is converted into integer data type, and we are passing this to the receiver. Receiver, we are collecting the integer data type. Again, we are converting into real. Output net R is it is nothing but a bits. Okay. They're actually real 2 bits. So we are using real 2 bits, and we are converting the real R Okay, that will be converted into bits and it will be assigned to this YR64-bit netar. So here the netar is nothing but output, so we are passing as an output argument, and in the model receiver we are receiving the netar, that is nothing but input netar via 64-bit netar. It's a bits. So these bits, after receiving this, always set netar. When we receive netar changes, it will enter into this line. So here with the help of $bits to real, netar is nothing but bits, so that will be converted into real using this system function. Then R is nothing but the real. Again, the real type real is converted into bits, and we are sending here the bits will be again converted into real. Next, we are going to say about race around condition. So when two expressions are scheduled to execute at the same time, if the order of execution is not determined, then race condition will occur. So this race condition will create metastability. So that changes the output as a metastable. We can get X state. Okay. So to avoid this race condition, first we will see what is the race condition, how it is occurred, and how to avoid the thing we are going to see now. One example for race condition. In this example, this module, I declare P as wire and Q as reach. There assign P equal to Q. So whenever Q value varies, P will be updated. In this procedural block, we are assigning the value of Q as 1. Then after one time unit, we are assigning Q as 0. Then we are going to display the P value. Here we are assigning Q value. When Q value varies, it will update P value because it is declared as a, we are mentioning assign P equal to Q. So it is continuously assignment. So whenever there is change happens in Q, it will automatically update. Here we are going to print the P value. Okay. Now what is the value we are expecting? We are assigning Q as 1. Then after one time unit, we are assigning 0. So when initially it will be 1, then after 1 we are assigning 0, so it will become 0. So when I display that, I am getting 0. This is for which tool? It is for Synopsys. If I change the tool, I change to Mentor. Now if you see, we are getting output as 1. The reason is some tool it is happening first. Okay. This value is assigned for P. Okay. Then after one the value changes as 0. Before this happens, this display happen in one tool. One tool, this is happening after that. After assigning the updated value of Q to P, then this display is happening. Okay. So in tool itself, there will be a different output we are getting. So which one happens first, we don't know. Okay. So these are all one of the example for race condition. We will see few more examples how race conditions are happening. Hidden race condition may come out during the following situations when different simulators are used to run the same code that we discussed about. Sometimes when new release of the simulator is used, that is one reason. Adding more code to previous code might pop up the previous hidden race. In the old code, we are assigning value for one variable. New updated code also, if you assign the value for same variable, so that may create the race condition that we are going to see another example in the following slide. So in two blocks, if you assign a value for the same variable, that also is a source for race condition. And if the order of the file is changing, that may create a race condition. If the order of the concurrent block or concurrent statement is changed, the execution order if we change, that may create a race condition. Linting is the tool used to catch the race conditions. Using that, we can identify the race condition and we can able to debug that. So first is write race. It occurs when same register is written in both the blocks. For example, always there are two always block, two procedural block. In both the block, I am assigning values for A. Okay. So which value A will take? Whether it take either it will take A as 1 or A as 5, because both always block at passage of clock it will enter into this line. Okay. So this is one example for write race. We don't know A will take 1 or A will take 5. Then read write race. It occurs when same register is read in one block and write in another block. Here in this always block at passage of clock we are writing a value to A. This always block at passage of clock we are reading the value A value and it is assigned for B. Okay. So both always block start at same time. At passage of clock it will enter. So if we are reading A, it may have value 1 or it may have its default value. If it is declared as read, okay, it has X as default. So B value it may take 1 or it may take X, that we don't know. So these are all the situations where the race condition occurs. We can resolve this by using non-blocking. If we use non-blocking, we can avoid this race condition. Then another example within fork join. This is similar to write read race. To use fork join, these two statements will happen concurrently or parallelly. So here we are writing and here we are reading. So it will create a write read race. In this example, two procedure blocks are there. In this initial block, we are assigning clock as 0. Within this always block, clock equal to as by not of clock. So this is called intra delay. Okay. When we mention the delay here, the left hand side before the clock, that is called intra delay. Intra delay means after 5, the value of not of clock will be assigned for this clock. When I mentioned delay here, as 5 clock equal to not of clock means after 5, this line will be happening. Okay. So here how the race is happening means both are started 0 time. The clock we are assigning 0. Here we are performing not of clock. So not of clock it may, if it takes 0, it will give 1. Else at initial state clock is X means it will give X. So that will create a race condition. So finally you will get a clock as X. To avoid this, we can use inter delay. You can mention aspect so that it will happen first, and after 5 time minutes, this line will execute. Then guidelines to avoid race condition: do not mix blocking and non-blocking statement in the same block. Do not read and write using blocking statement on same variable. That also we discussed, right? Avoiding write read race. You should not assign value or should not read and write this for a same variable at the same time. Do not initialize at time 0. And do not assign a variable more than in one block. That also we discussed. Should not assign value or should not write and read for the same variable in different blocks. So that also will create a race condition. Use blocking statement for combinational design and use non-blocking for sequential design so that we can avoid the race conditions. The next is DPI. direct programming interface. Before that, early we use PLI, a programming language interface, and VBA, Verilog programming interface. That these two are used to invoke or enable the C++ code from foreign language code apart from Verilog, Assistant Verilog. To enable those code, and we are able to call those inside the Verilog code. For that, we use this PLI and VBA concepts. The interfacing is complex when you use PLI and VBA. This VPI, PLI is a mechanism to invoke C or C++ functions from Verilog code. For that, we use this PLI, and also we can create our custom system calls like $display, $stop, $random. Likewise, we can create the own customized task and we can able to use it. But now we are using a DPI. It is very simple to access some other function or task from the other languages like C, C++. An example we can see. In this example, this right side we have a function from C++. So here the functionality is, the function name is hello from CPP. We are passing SV logic as input argument A. So based on the A value, if it is 0, it will give output as 0. If it is 1, it will give output as 1. If it is Z, we are passing. If it is receive Z, it will give 2 as output. If it is X, it will give 3 as the output. So inside this SV, yes, SV based, here you should import the function first. With the help of import, you can just double quote DPIC function, that function name. Function name is follow from CPP. Then this logic is the data type used in SV. A argument we are passing. Within this initial block, run is nothing but a task we write here, and we are calling run task inside the initial block. Here run task logic A. A is declared as logic, and we are assigning the A value as X. Then we are displaying the value of A, and we are calling the follow from CPP function. Okay. So this is written in the C++. We are passing the A as X now, and then we are assigning 1 for A. Again we are displaying, we are calling the function. Again A values is set, we are displaying that, and we are calling the function. The same way we are assigning X, and we are displaying that, and we are passing the A value for the function. When A value is X, we are getting A as 3. When you pass X, it will give 3. It is printing C++. A is 3. Then A value is 1 means C++ A is 1. For Z, it will return 2, and for X, it will return 3. When you pass 0, it will return 0. So this way you can use, or we can invoke C functions in Verilog code. Next is user-defined primitives. In Verilog, it consists of inbuilt primitive like gates, transmission gates, all are available. If you want to implement some complex primitives, you can implement with the help of UDT, and you can use that. An example you can see. In this example, so these are the keywords primitive and end primitive. Within that, we can implement our logic as a primitive. We are going to create as a primitive. The name you can give any name. Give a UDP body. Here you should mention the output first, okay, followed by inputs. The output should be 1. Okay, and input you can give up to 10 inputs. A is output and B, C are inputs. Here I am going to implement OR functionality. Using this table and M table, you need to mention the logic. For input combination, this is nothing but wildcard, similar to don't get X. It may be a 0 or 1, and C value is 1, colon the expected output 1. If this combination of input, if you give B value as 1 and C value, it may be a 0 or 1, okay, output should be 1. For input 0 0, if I give for A and B, B and C, output A should be 0. So likewise, I implement the logic for this corresponding input. I should get the output. Okay, that using table and in table I implement. So that should be inside the primitive. Then first we will check this primitive is working or not. So for that, I wrote a test bench here. A declared as wire and BC declared as rich. This UDP body we instantiated. We have mapped the inputs and outputs. Here we are posing B and C values. First we will run this. Using dollar monitor, we are printing A, B and C values. We are getting the output. So B 0 0 0 0, we are getting 0. 1 0. 1 0 means this is 1. It may be 0 or 1, we will get 1. We are getting 1. Likewise, we are getting. You see B X 1. X 1, we are getting 1. X 1, we are getting 1. So this combination X 0. X 0, we didn't mention, right? So for that, we will get don't care. 0x 0x we didn't mention, for that we will get don't care. So now the primitive we implemented. Now I am going to use this as a logic or primitive gate, and I am going to implement some logic here. The test bench. Now I'm going to develop a logic like this. I implement a primitive, nothing but OR gate I implement. So this, using that, I'm going to implement this logic. Here, variable names we are going to use as in1, into, in3 and out. This is out. Intermediate wire, that is outcome. Okay. I already created this gate UDP body as a primitive. Using that, I am going to implement this logic. For the first stage, module combination logic, this one I am going to implement. So inputs are in1, in2, in3, out is the final out. Input declared, output declared as switch. Then wire, this out one is going to connect between these two stages. So that is declared as wire. UDP body, this one I am calling to implement this logic. This you can also instantiate that. Out one to implement the first stage, out one, comma, here A is nothing but out. Then B, C are input. So in the same order you should mention out one comma, in one comma, in two. To implement this second stage, out comma, out one comma, in three. Okay. Or out comma, in three comma, out one. So two inputs, and this is the output for this case. After implementing this, again with the help of test bench, we are going to verify this. In the test bench, we are passing in one in two, in three. The first stage, it is similar to R, right? So you can, when you pass 0, 0, you will get 0, 0, 0, you are getting 0, and 0 with 1, 0 with 1, 0 here, it may be a 0 or 1, and C is 1, you are getting 1. For 0, 1 combination, for this corresponding input, we are getting 1. We are getting 1. So likewise, based on this primitive, it will operate and we are getting the corresponding output. So likewise, you can also implement sequential primitives also. Now I show the example of combination. I guess you can develop the sequential logic. You can push that in the design. There are some limitations and rules of this UDP port. An UDP can contain only one output and up to 10 input sequences. Then output should be mentioned first port and followed by one or more inputs. So that is the rule. Then all UDP ports are scalar. You should not use a vector port. That is not allowed. Like 3 is to 0, 0. Likewise, you should not use. Everything should be a scalar. UDP cannot have bidirectional port. It may be an input or output. Not use input port. Then another thing is UDP cannot use Z as in the input table. Input table you can mention wildcard with a question mark. You can mention 0 or 1. So you should not mention Z in the primitive table. Next topic is event. The event it is used to synchronize two or more concurrent active process or concurrent process. So here we are using two things. One is triggering the event. E is nothing but event. We should declare this E as an event. Then this symbol equal greater than. Okay, this one is not equal. This is hyphen then greater than symbol. So this is used to triggering the event. And wait for the event. You should use this at of E. That is waiting for the event to trigger. We'll see an example. This event is used for timing control. It is used to synchronize two processes. Like here in this example, we have within this initial block, we are using fork and join. That means the following lines, the following process are going to happen at the same time. Here I use one beginning. This is one process. Assume that this is one process, and this is process 2. Here I will just display to understand the event. This is one process and this is another process. Both are going to run at the same time because we are putting those inside the fork and join. Now Here in the first process, after 40 time units, it's going to display triggering the event, and we are triggering the event EV1. EV1 we declared as event. Here we are triggering the event. Inside this process 2, first the display is mentioned that waiting for event to trigger and using at of EV1. That means we are waiting for the event to trigger. After that, we are displaying event trigger. So here it will wait for the event to trigger. When this trigger happens, it will allow to execute the following lines. Here, let's see. As per mentioned here, both processes start at the same time. This will happen after 40. So first we will get this display. Wait for the event to trigger. Then it is waiting for the EV1 to trigger. Okay. So after 40 time minutes, we are getting this display triggering the event, and this event got triggered. When this event get triggered, it will allow to move to the next line. So you will get event triggered. So that is the use of it. Going to synchronize or acting as a timing control. Until the event get triggered, it will stop to move to further lines. Okay. So here, if I remove this delay, now this process 1 and process 2 happens at the same time. So how the output will be? So we are getting event triggered. So the event is triggered. At the same time, we are getting the waiting for event to trigger, but it will not allow to move to the next line. This event trigger we won't get. The reason is this one should happen or this one should execute before the event trigger happens. So then only it will recognize it. This line should happen first and it should wait for the event to trigger. When the event is triggered, it will know the event is triggered. Then it will enter into the following lines. If this happens first, okay, event is triggered, and then the execution comes to this line. Okay, so it will wait for the event to trigger. It does not recognize the event triggered previously. Okay. When this line happens, and it should wait for the event to trigger. After this line, if trigger happens, it can able to recognize the trigger and it will move to the below line. So the main point is this one happens first and this one happens next. Then only it will work or operate. If it happens, trigger happens first, then the execution of act of event happens means it will not recognize the event trigger. Okay. Okay, now this are here I mentioned few synthesizable and non-synthesizable Verilog constructs. Synthesizable means it can able to convert into gate level netlist. Okay, then that will be mapped to any type of or FPGA or maybe ASIC or TIL. So that's going to implement as a real hardware. So these constructs you can able to synthesize module, instance, instantiations, always assign for parameter, function, task. Task, if you use delay, it is not a synthesizable. It does not contain any timing construct. You can able to synthesize. Then loops, operators, blocking and non-blocking if else case. These are all synthesizable constructs, and these are all non-synthesizable constructs: initial, delay, core join, real, time, forever, event, table and primitives, force and release, and conversion functions. Real to integer, integer to real, and those conversion functions. So these are all non-synthesizable. So we can't able to implement this as a real hardware. The reason then why we are using this means, okay, this may be used in the test bench part to verify the implemented design. Can use these constructs to develop the test bench. Then force and release. Okay, I will explain the force and release and we will talk now. Module test. A, B, C are declared as rich and E, D are declared as wire. Here in this example, the A, E and D are the outputs. So this is declared as wire because I am going to assign the value for E and D using data flow. In continuous assignment, I am going to assign value for E and D. I didn't use bigger modeling, so the output is not declared as a rich. It is declared as wire. Here I use a gate level modeling for assigning the value of E and D. So here it is a 3-bit 3 input AND gate. A, B, C are inputs. That corresponding output is assigned for E. Then OR gate, 3 input OR gate, A, B, C are inputs. The corresponding output will be assigned for D. Okay, within this initial begin end, I am assigning and forcing the value for A, B, and C. Okay, I am assigning A, B, and C value. A is 1, B is 0, and C is 1. Okay, when I assign this, it will give the corresponding output. What value you will get for E? Here it is going to perform AND operation. 1, 0, 1. So you will get 0 for E. That you will get using this, you will get in the log file using this $9. Then for D, you will get 1 because it is going to perform OR operation between A, B, and C. So D value you will get 1. At 0 time, for the corresponding input A, B, C, D value is 1, D value is 1, is R output, and E value is 0, AND output. Now after some time, using force keyword, you can directly force some value for D. Here what I am doing, I am going to perform OR operation, and that value I am forcing for D, and I am going to perform, here I am going to perform AND operation, that value is assigned for D. Here I am going to perform OR operation, that value is assigned for D. Clearly we perform for D, we perform OR operation. Here I am going to perform AND operation. So automatically this value will be, if we perform AND operation, the value is 0. Early the value is 1. Okay. Now 0 is assigned for D, and for this OR, the corresponding output is 1. That will be assigned for forced for E. Early the value of E is 0. Now we are forcing 1 for E. Okay. Here 0, here 1. Early we have value 1 for E and 0 for 1 for D and 0 for E. Force, we are assigning 0 for D and 1 for E. See here, after this delay, if we are forcing this value, we are getting D as 0 and E as 1. Then again after 10 time units, we are releasing the value of D and value of E. So using release keyword to give the forced value will be released. So whatever the value present early, the early value of D is 1, E is 0. Okay. That will be loaded. Okay. We are just release the forced value. So automatically the previous value what D and E hold, that will comes as an output. Okay. Again we are getting D as 1 and E as 0. Okay, that is the use of this force and release keyword. So from test bench, if you want to make any bit should be 1 for some time. Okay. You can, using this course, you can make that corresponding bit inside the design as 1. Okay. So how we can do that? Using the instance name, that is RTL design instance name dot corresponding output equal to value. From test bench, you can able to force the value for the design. Okay. And using release, you can release the value and it can it can take the previous value. That is the use of this force and release. The remaining thing we will discuss that.